Everyone who's paying attention will agree that life has gotten way more expensive in Texas, especially gas, groceries, and housing. The crazy...
Listen, man, don't move to Texas, bro. I don't care. Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin. Don't move to Texas, man. I'm telling you right now, man. The dating scene out here is so corrupt. The dating scene in Texas, man, is like dating the government.
And you would question, how is anyone in Texas who isn't a baby boomer affording a house right now? About a third of Texas, or 5 million people, are making under $20 an hour, just a little over $40K before any taxes. But you would need to make $80 to $100K to afford the median house price.
I've made a massive mistake of moving from California to Texas. It is actually unbelievable the amount of hateful and disgusting comments I got under my last video stating that exact fact. And it is crazy that people don't even try to understand the context of all of it. So here is the context of why I regret moving from California to Texas.
Texas was just ranked the second worst state to live in based on quality of life in the United States. And as somebody who has lived here for 9 months, not by choice, I couldn't agree more. Something that I noticed immediately when I got to Texas was how poor the infrastructure is. It's impossible to drive on the highway. You are merging from 5 lanes to 2 lanes within a quarter mile. There's always traffic. You have to make a U-turn every time you get in your car. It takes 20 minutes to get anywhere. The infrastructure of
a pregnant woman, for months in, not sure what her next move even is. A man telling total strangers not to bother packing their bags. And a question that a third of the state genuinely can't answer. For years, Texas was sold as the escape hatch. No income tax, cheap land, more space for your money. And now, millions of people who actually made that move are saying the same thing out loud. This isn't what they signed up for. So let's actually get into why. Before we do, drop a like and subscribe, because this one's long and it's worth sticking around for. It usually starts small. A grocery run, a bill in the mail, a meal that used to cost one price and suddenly doesn't anymore. Watch how fast this adds up.
Austin is a scam right now. Morning, I was on my way to a shoot. I needed coffee and breakfast. I ordered coffee and I had 3 tacos. The guy says $18. Literally, I'm talking to this guy like, are you kidding me? $18? Is this a ski resort? Why would it be $18 for 3 tacos and a coffee? And he just is completely deadpan like, yeah, $18. Yeah, what are you talking about? 18 bucks. Like, it was just so much. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm just having a coffee and I'll starve, right? I go to a shoot. The shoot goes way longer than I thought. So now I am starving. I go to this like shanty looking diner that's like falling apart. It has good reviews, but like just like absolutely falling apart. Order the cheapest thing on the menu, which was a shitty ass chicken breast, Brussels sprouts and fries and a water. And that shit cost $18. What are we doing here, people? What are we doing? There's no money. The money is gone. What are we doing?
Tell me how this makes any sense. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment in Austin, Texas, and my electric bill for the month of August is $214. This is astronomical and unheard of. What is happening?
Ground beef, one of the most basic things that you can put on a table to feed your family, keeps getting more expensive in Texas. And meanwhile, the minimum wage keeps being frozen at $7.25 an hour. The same number it's been for over 15 years.
If you've been thinking about moving to Texas, do not, and let me tell you why. The cost of living here is so ridiculous. And our minimum wage is $7.25. Let me show y'all the meal that I got today. Y'all see this little sandwich? This little sandwich? $10. Y'all see my iced coffee? The size of my hand? $7. Minimum wage here in Texas is $7.25. And this meal costed me $17. If I was working for a minimum wage, I would have to work like 2.5 hours to be able to afford this meal.
$18 for tacos, $214 for electricity in a 1-bedroom, and a wage that hasn't moved in 15 years while all of that keeps climbing. That gap between what people earn and what things cost doesn't just show up at the grocery store. It shows up the moment somebody tries to buy a house. No income tax sounds great on paper. Here's what people actually find out once they own property there.
Texas was pitched to Gen Z as the affordable option for years, but this isn't really true anymore. Financially, Texas used to make sense. No income tax, more space, good jobs, lower cost of living compared to states like New York or California. But here's what nobody told you. The average rent prices in major Texas cities such as Austin, Dallas, and Houston have rose over 30% since 2020. One-bedroom apartment in Austin can push almost $1,500 a month.
Guys, nobody's talking about this and I don't understand why. If you see a house in Texas and it's listed for $600,000, you're like, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful this house is. You get so much house for $600,000. And in Arizona for 900 or 1.2, look at this big house you get for 600,000. You guys need to look past the surface. A house in Arizona, the property taxes on a $1.2 million house or a $900,000 house, it's probably between $2,500 and $3,000 for the whole year, right? In Texas, on a big, massive, nice, beautiful home, you might be paying $14,000 a year in taxes. Oh, $14,000 doesn't sound that big when you're talking like 600 or 1.2. It doesn't hit the same because $14,000 in property taxes is every year. It never goes away. It's not a mortgage you can pay off.
Why does nobody warn you about property taxes when you buy a house? Because a lot of people are caught off guard when they get that big property tax bill and they're like, what? I'm a real estate investor, so I own more properties than the average person, so I'm not trying to pay crazy property taxes because that's eating into my profit margin and my cash flow for my real estate portfolio. Here are some ways to lower your property tax bill. Now, number one, go on your county appraisal district. So for example, I live in Austin, Texas, so I go to Travis County Appraisal District's website and I check and I look up my own property because I am trying to see if the square footage that is publicly recorded in tax rolls is the actual square footage of my house. This has actually happened to someone I know, and her house was recorded to be like 500 square feet larger than it actually is. And so she was paying way more in property taxes than like what's fair or what's equitable because her house is not actually that big. What happened is that she finally got the appraisal district to correct the square footage, and then she actually got a refund for her property taxes because she overpaid them. Second thing you can do is protest your property taxes. You can do it yourself or you can get an attorney to do it for you. But basically what you will need is comparable properties from the last year. Like, for example, if I get my property tax bill in 2025, I need to look at 2024 data because that's what it's being evaluated on. Every county has a different process for how they handle property tax protesting, but it is literally your right as a citizen and as a member of your county to protest your property taxes. Finally,
Rent up 30% since 2020. A property tax bill that can run $14,000 a year and never disappears. That's the financial side. But for a lot of people, especially women, the bigger fear isn't the money. It's what happens if something goes wrong medically while they're there. This next stretch is heavier. Real situations, real people, and decisions that had nothing to do with politics until the law made it about politics.
At this point in my life, you can't convince me that literally any healthcare insurance company prioritizes patients in any type of way. If you're not familiar with the situation, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas just recently got into a little argument over a contract with two major hospitals in North Texas, Texas Health Resources and UT Southwestern. So yesterday I felt kind of a little weird lump in one of my breasts and it concerned me. And so I was like, maybe I should just make an appointment with my gynecologist. And then I realized, oh, my gynecologist is through Texas Health Resources, which my insurance just cut coverage of because they can't get enough money out of their contract. So I would have to go out of network to a gynecologist that I literally picked because it was in network, great reviews. I've been going to her for years. She's diagnosed so many issues for me. And I'd have to go get an entire new doctor to get in-network coverage because they are so greedy.
What's going on in Texas when it comes to children's healthcare? Governor Greg Abbott put forward that all patients must have documentation status, citizenship status shared before care is provided. And Texas Children's has a pediatrician who's an outspoken advocate. Who is in the right here that says, actually, no, they don't have to do that. We will provide care. And the governor is saying, hey, watch out. He's singling out the doctor's video and saying that this is the reason why your hospital may not get funds
A
from
patient more scared of the law than her own diagnosis. A hospital threatened overfunding for treating a child. 3 young women with nobody stepping in to help. That's the heavy stuff. But even without a crisis, plenty of people are just worn down by the day-to-day of actually living there. No single disaster. Just months and years of small frustrations stacking up until people finally say enough.
All right, so fun fact. For me to get to work on time this morning, I had to leave yesterday. What used to be an hour and 10-minute drive from Conroe to Pearland is now a 2-hour drive. Here's the crazy part, is we steadily building neighborhoods like we got room for folks over here. Our cup runneth over, Jesus. Please stop bringing people over here. Listen, it takes 3 business days to get sat at a restaurant now. You got to eat at home before you go out to eat. I don't even know why people want to come here. It's hot every day of the year. All I gotta say is, if we had a major crisis right now in Houston, Texas, gas and toilet paper is the least of our worries.
Austin, Texas. What is it about this exit to North Land Pass exit that we have all this traffic? Because I used to think, you know, maybe it's just traffic all the way, but as you can see, as we approach the bridge, folks really just be slowing down because of the bridge exit, bruh. Watch, I'm gonna zoom in a little, bruh. Get in front of this truck. Like y'all don't see them driving so slow up there on this bridge? There's a better angle, bruh.
A commute that doubled. A move out was planned within 15 days of listing the house. A slow realization that the friends and family who mattered just weren't there. Different situations, same ending. But before this turns into a total pile-on, it's only fair to hear the other side. Because plenty of Texans will tell you the math still works out fine.
Is nobody going to talk about how expensive it got to live in Texas lately? We were all promised a lower cost of living, but we actually just got scammed. Let me tell you something that blows my mind. The median house price is now somewhere around $340K. To afford that, you'd have to be making anywhere from $80 to $100K before taxes. Okay, cool. Sounds easy enough, right? 1/3 of Texas is making less than $20 an hour. It's a little over $40K before any taxes. So how is anyone supposed to afford a house when you have 1/3 of the state making less than half of what they would need to get an average house?
And that's the honest complication here. For someone coming straight out of California or New York, it can still pencil out cheaper. It just depends what you're comparing it to and what you're willing to give up to get there. A pregnant woman not sure what her next move is. A $14,000 a year tax bill nobody warned her about. A patient asking if she's going to get in trouble on the worst day of her life. A commute that doubled overnight. None of these people were promised any of this. They were promised cheap land, low taxes, and more space for their money. For a lot of them, what they actually got was a different set of problems, just as expensive, just as exhausting, in different ways. And to be fair, not everyone regrets it. Plenty of people made the move, and it worked out exactly how they hoped. But for the millions who didn't, the gap between what Texas was sold, as in what it actually delivered, is what's sending so many of them right back out. So here's the question. If you've made the move, or thought about it, was it what you expected? Or did reality look completely different once you got there? Drop it in the comments.